Hi everyone. My name is Mary Henderson, and I was asked to talk to you a little bit about what the Attorney General does. I'm an attorney here in Austin in private practice. I served under five different attorneys general, and so I've had a little bit of experience with the Office of the Attorney General, having worked in four different divisions under five attorneys general. So, what does the Attorney General do, and what is he responsible for? I say he because in the history of Texas, we have never had a woman attorney general. So maybe someday that will happen. The attorney general has his authority from the Texas Constitution, and the role of the attorney general was established originally by the Republic of Texas in the early 1800s, 1836, and then the Texas Constitution in 1876 put the role of the Attorney General in the executive branch of government. So there's a little history lesson for you. So the Attorney General, and I'm not going to read all of this to you, but generally the Attorney General is responsible for representing the state and the employees of the state in all suits that are brought against the state, is also responsible for overseeing that corporations are not overreaching and exercising powers that they do not have. And they can the Attorney General can forfeit charters of corporations, can take away the right to do business in the state, and has a pretty broad authority to investigate the actions of corporations, whether they be for-profit or nonprofit organizations. Also under the Constitution, there's a kind of a catch-all that the Attorney General can perform such other duties as may be required by law. And so over the years, the role has expanded in several ways in that the Attorney General is responsible for child support collection and enforcement, involved in consumer protection and in enforcing the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, may go after Medicaid fraud, either civil or criminal Medicaid fraud. The Attorney General has increased the role in investigation of cyber crimes and sex trafficking, child pornography, online solicitation of minors, ID theft. The AG also enforces the Public Information Act and provides legal opinions to state officials and represents state officials and employees. Now, an interesting note is that the AG has no original criminal enforcement authority under the Constitution, but may get involved in criminal cases at the request of a prosecutor's office. So a district attorney or county attorney can ask the Attorney General to get involved in a criminally prosecuted case with their assistance. The only exception to that is that the Attorney General represents the director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice in federal court in appeals of death penalty cases and habeas cases. So with that, without further ado, I will pass it on to then proceed with talking with the candidates who are running for Attorney General this year in the Democratic primary.
Thanks, Mary. So my name is Danielle Buckley. I am going to moderate this discussion. Apologies, I'm trying to get my slide to go forward. There we go. We have our candidates joining us. I believe we have a few of them were just joining. And so we're gonna go alphabetically. We're gonna allow each of the Texas Attorney General candidates to tell us a little bit about themselves, why they're running for the first 5 minutes. So I will start a timer. And then we will have another 10 minutes for any Q&A by the audience so that we have a chance for discussion and to ask questions. However, because of the size of our audience, We are actually going to do all of our Q&A through the chat. So, oops. So for those that are not familiar with how to use the chat, we're going to actually change it so that you are no longer able to chat everyone. You are only going to be able to chat me and other hosts and co-hosts, but we're going to ask that you actually use the chat to chat any of your questions directly to me for the candidates, and then I'll help moderate and ask those questions. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I believe Tony Box is here. He is our first candidate that will be speaking. But I wonder if, Tony, if you don't mind, could you raise your Zoom hand to help me find you so that I can highlight you or spotlight you? Ah, I found you. Okay. I am going to make you spotlighted so we all see you. And let me make sure that you are able to unmute. Give me just one moment. We have all of our Zoom controls. So you should be able to unmute and everything. Just to give the briefest of introductions, and please, by all means, correct anything I say. This is Tony Box. He is one of our candidates for Texas Attorney General. He's served in a number of public safety and law enforcement roles, including as an Army paratrooper, an FBI special agent, and a federal prosecutor. And this means you have investigated and prosecuted criminal activity at the federal level. And so you have a lot of experience in law enforcement and prosecution. So
Right.
I will let you speak to any more of your experience, and I will start our 5-minute timer.
Thank you so much, Danielle. You hear me okay, right? Okay, excellent. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate being here. It's an honor to speak with you all. So I'll tell you a little bit why I'm running and a little bit about myself. So I am running to be the Attorney General of the state of Texas because the Attorney General is the chief legal officer of the state. And that person is responsible for protecting all Texans, all 32 plus million Texans. And that person needs to care about the people of Texas and not their rich buddies and not their political parties. I am an individual who is not a career politician, and I served in various roles for my entire career. So, and I'll tell you where that comes from. When I was 16 years old, I was working at a grocery store, and I was helping a lady out to a car with her bags, and an individual came by, snatched her purse. I took off after that person and jumped on top of him, and that individual stuck a gun in my belly and shot me. And over the course of recovering, I promised God, I am a religious man, I promised God that I would spend my life, and I made a promise to myself as well, protecting others, serving others, especially the vulnerable. And I've done just that over the last several decades. Just a few short years later, I joined the Army. I joined both the Army and the FBI. Excuse me, the Army and the ROTC. Later became a tank commander in the active army and where I led troops. It was a wonderful experience, and I spent most of my professional career either in the active army or in the Army Reserves. A short time later, I got the honor and the pleasure of being selected to be an FBI agent. I served all over the world. I was a SWAT agent. I did computer forensics, and I went to New York after 9/11. And so one of the things about New York after 9/11 is many of my buddies didn't make it. They didn't make it to today, and because of breathing of toxic fumes. And so if you go to FBI headquarters, there's a wall of honor. I've been there where many of my buddies' names are there from breathing toxic fumes. The Lord has delivered me, and He allowed me to recover from that. And so I've continued to serve. I worked in Congress for a short time, working in a commission called the Commission on Wartime Contracting in Iraq and Afghanistan, where I investigated fraud in those theaters. Later, I became a federal prosecutor, and I prosecuted crimes and held people accountable. I will also say that during that period of time, I served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So I've deployed to Iraq with a wife and three small children. And it wasn't an easy decision. I volunteered to do that, but wanted to continue to serve. And that is the type of commitment that I have and I would bring to the Attorney General's office, serving the people of Texas and only the people of Texas, and not what we've seen from Ken Paxton, taking advantage of people, filing frivolous lawsuits, filing political lawsuits, attacking the vulnerable, go on and on. It's just a tremendous abuse of power, abuse of that office. And I will hold individuals accountable, including the federal government when necessary. But what's important to know about the Attorney General's office is you can bring lawsuits on behalf of the state, and that is this responsibility, and that's what I'll do. But it's also equally important to know when not to bring a lawsuit. What's going on now is the Attorney General is bringing lawsuits to punish people, his political enemies, and that is a very, very powerful trigger, and you should not pull it unless it's absolutely necessary. When I prosecuted cases in the Department of Justice, we talked extensively about should this case be brought and what's the benefit and what harm would it cause this individual if we are wrong. And so that is not what's going on now. It's investigate and charge and malign first and then drop your case later or ask questions later. And so I will bring that commitment to the Attorney General's office, that level of experience. I am the only one in this race who has directly relevant experience, and I will bring that to bear on day one. Consumer protection is a priority. Child enforcement is a priority. I have personal experience with child enforcement. When I was young, when I was raised by my single mom, it's me and my mom and my sister, my dad didn't pay child support for years, and it mattered. The Attorney General has the primary responsibility for child enforcement, and it's not being done. Consumer protection is not being done the way that it should be. It's being abused. But we have powerful, excellent consumer protection laws in the state of Texas. And in my current practice, I'm a partner at a law firm in the state of Dallas. I deal with this on a daily basis. I've stood on my feet many, many times prosecuting cases and also defending cases. And so that is my background. I'm asking individuals everywhere I go to look at the candidates and look at the experience levels, look at the passion. I think that Texas is used to a certain type of candidate, a political candidate who rises through the political ranks. But I'm not that. I'm not that candidate. I'm a different kind of guy. I want to assume the Attorney General's office, serve really, really well with distinction, turn that office around, restore integrity, and leave it much better than I found it.
Thank you so much. That was perfect timing. That was exactly your 5 minutes. So that was great. Again, for any of y'all that just joined us, I'm going to ask that you send questions directly to me in the chat, just to help us moderate. But we already have a couple, so I will ask you the first one that came through. Would you reactivate a strong consumer protection division in the OAG?
I would. So yeah, it's not strong now. Consumer protection needs to be strengthened. I would at least double the size of that unit and reorient it because right now it's just maligning people and harassing people, and it should be protecting consumers, individual consumers. So really briefly, when I was had a young family, my wife and I put deposit down on some furniture. We lost our deposit. We thought it was gone. Much later, we found out the Attorney General stepped in and we got all of our money back. That's the kind of ground level work that the Attorney General should do. And I am committed to doing that for the individual peoples and also the high level cases as well.
Okay. The next question, as Attorney General, what would you do to protect academic freedom and the freedom of speech that's now under severe threat at Texas universities and colleges?
So to the extent that I would not proactively use the power of the state, the power of Attorney General to harass people, I would sue. If there's an unconstitutional law harassing professors and it violates the First Amendment right, then I'll sue. I'll sue the federal government and I'll sue anyone who attempts to implement unconstitutional laws because I've sworn an oath to the Constitution time and time again, and I will do so as your Attorney General and enforce it.
Are you familiar with the funding for child support enforcement? How do you intend to fund and administer that division?
So the division is funded well. I'm not sure exactly I understand the question, but I do know that I talk to a lot of lawyers who practice in that division, child support enforcement. They talk about the technology. It's not funded as it should be. They don't have enough people. They're short-staffed. People have a hard time getting return emails. Cases linger forever, and child support is delayed because of lack of funding and a lack of utilizing the resources that they have. And I'm committed to improving the technology and bringing more of the Attorney General's budget into child support enforcement.
What is your specific experience in managing a large organization?
Sure. I started out in the Army, and I served over 20 years. I retired from the Army Reserves about six months ago. And so I have managed at all levels, including high level or in terms of large organizations, including in almost all my jobs. I've been in some sort of managerial or supervisory responsibility or have led very large groups of people.
We actually have a follow-up on the Consumer Protection Division question. What specifically is wrong with the Consumer Protection Division, and what specifically is your plan for changing it?
Sure. So Ken Paxton has used consumer protection laws to target folks in ways that it should not be used for. It should be used for consumer protection. It should not be used to take away voting rights and to attack individuals, LGBTQ individuals, and so on and so forth. And so it's been used under that auspices, but it should not be. It should be used to go after fraudsters, individuals who are harming the citizens, and sue sue the federal government when the people are getting money taken from. For example, the large amount of the SNAP benefits and the NIH funding that was taken from the state. Ken Paxton sat on his hands, did not sue. I would sue. I'm not going to let money be taken out of the state of Texas. And specifically, what I'm going to do is increase that. Train my people, and I'm going to utilize some of the tremendous talent that's out there. I'm still plugged into the DOJ network. There's 5,000 DOJ prosecutors that have left the agencies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into some of that talent, some of my friends, some of the people who are hungering to get back in a federal service. And we're going to operate that Consumer Protection Division the way that it should be, like, similar to the way the old DOJ used to work before Pam Bondi.
What is your top priority if you're elected as Texas Attorney General?
So first is restore integrity and look at all the cases. Every case, every lawsuit, every letter that has been sent out. Ken Paxton has a habit of sending out letters saying you're under investigation. That is not a practice I believe in. It's not a practice I've ever participated in. And so, restoring integrity, looking at every case. I'm going to get rid of some cases. I don't know which cases those are, but we're going to do a top to bottom review. And I know that there are some cases that should not stay. And second, and then lastly is, two. One is consumer protection, which I've talked about. And the other is restoring relationships with district attorneys. I've been a district attorney before. It's frayed. Ken Paxton has a habit of suing district attorneys. They don't like him and they won't work with him. One of the jobs of the Attorney General is to support the district attorneys and not fight with them. And I will do that. That's one of my priorities.
Great. And then we have one more question, but if anybody else has some, please keep them coming. We have a couple more minutes for this candidate. Tell us a little about your recent or any of your Democratic political experience that qualifies you to be the candidate for the Democratic Party.
So I've been largely apolitical, and so I don't hide that. I mean, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I voted for Democrat every election I've ever voted, and I expect that that'll go on forever. But when I'm in the Army and I'm serving, and I'm a federal FBI agent, and I'm in Iraq and I'm in Afghanistan, and we don't do that type of Democratic political work. When I was during the times when I was not in the service, then I door knocked and I've passed out literatures, but most of my life has been public service and I've been largely apolitical.
Right. I don't see any other questions coming through, but thank you so much. Would you like, you have like 1.5 minutes left for the Q&A. If there's anything else you'd like to mention or talk about in that 1 minute.
Yeah, briefly. So I believe that uh, 2026 is going to be different. The state of Texas, the Democrats are locked out of power in the federal government. Democrats are locked out of power in the state of Texas. In 2026, things are going to change. It's a great environment, and we should put forth our strongest candidate, the candidate that's going to appeal to individuals, a candidate whose background resonates, individual characteristics resonate, someone with integrity, someone who can appeal to crossover voters. And I think I'm that individual. I've spoken to individuals all throughout the state of Texas, Republicans, Independents, Democrats, and they believe that this office is ready for someone with my type of background, with my seriousness about restoring integrity. And I think that we should look at someone who is not a career politician, someone who is different, and someone who will appeal to others. And I think I'm that person. And I thank you, and I hope that you all support my candidacy or look at it seriously and evaluate our credentials and my team as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we are going to ask
I'm
candidate
gonna log out.
Jaworski. I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
I'm gonna log out.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Thank you again so much. You are welcome to stay and continue to listen. But thank
Well,
you so
I don't know
much.
that I want to listen to I mean, we generally don't listen to each other.
No worries. All right, thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank you. Take care.
Danielle, you're muted, girl.
Thank you. Okay. I put the spotlight on you, Joe, and so now everyone can see you. You should be able to unmute yourself as well now. I'm just going to give a brief introduction. Joe Jaworski is another Democratic candidate for Texas Attorney General and a practicing attorney. So you previously served as mayor of Galveston, and you were actually in office during the recovery following Hurricane Ike. You come from a family with a long history in Texas law, so you've had experience in both public service and private legal practice. And if I didn't expand or hit certain talking points, please tell us more about yourself. And I will, in the background, have a timer going just as we did for our other candidate. Thank you so much, Joe.
Danielle, thank you so much. And Blue Action, great seeing you. Thank you for hosting this forum. My name is Joe Jaworski. I'm a third generation Texas lawyer, a former mayor of Galveston, and I'm the grandson of a proud Texas Democrat, Leon Jaworski, who prosecuted World War II Nazis and the President of the United States. So proud of Leon for the work he did in the post-World War II European theater as the lead prosecutor at Auschwitz, Dachau, Hadamar, and the Russelheim Death March. And then back here in America, my grandfather prosecuted Richard Nixon, causing him to resign in shame and ending the Nixon corrupt administration. I tell you this story because what's old is new again. You talk about Nazis, you talk about the President of the United States going too far. And so his blood is my blood. And Blue Action, I'm here to tell you, I'm ready, I'm unafraid, and I'm running to be your Attorney General. I'm running because justice should not be for sale in Texas. And we saw what happened with Ken Paxton's impeachment trial. And unlike that scoundrel who occupies the office of Attorney General right now, when I take the oath in 1 year with your blessing, I'll lead with integrity, not indictments. And you can be sure that I will fight the bullies, just like I did when I was Galveston mayor. I'll push back against the extreme Trump MAGA agenda. And let's be clear about something, Southwest Austin. This is about a lot more than laws and courtrooms. Oh, yeah, it's about that. We're running for Attorney General here. But what it's really about is the heart and soul of who we are as Democrats and who we are as Texans. I'm talking about the primary as well as the general. And I've spent my adult life in battles that require heart and soul. When I was Galveston mayor, I was elected right after Hurricane Ike wiped out the island. 80% of all buildings were rendered uninhabitable. And I fought hard to rebuild our island. And in the face of racist, professional, personal, and familial attacks against my family and myself and my law firm. I stood 10 toes down as mayor of Galveston, prioritizing the community public housing that my working poor constituents deserved. Because when you leave Galveston under the mayor's evacuation order, and when the coast is clear, it doesn't matter your income level. It doesn't matter your station in life. You deserve to come home. But there were wealthy people and racists who looked at that hurricane as a cleansing of the island. I'm not kidding. And when Housing and Urban Development Secretary Sean Donovan and the leadership at HUD said, Mayor, you got $1 billion to rebuild your island. Just remember, you got to rebuild the public housing. I took a page out of another great Texas Democrats book, Henry Cisneros, the great mayor of San Antonio, who served as HUD secretary under Clinton. And I made sure that the least of us, those who cleaned the rooms at University of Texas Medical Branch, those in the hospitality industry who helped Tillman Fertitta become a billionaire, were able to come home because we all deserve to come home. It's that level of courage you need as your attorney general now. So I'm also running because I believe what you believe. And what we believe is that the law should serve people, Danielle, not politics. We believe in justice that protects the vulnerable, not power that shields the corrupt. And that's a great definition for what Texas is right now. Shame. We know we deserve better. That's what you're going to see on my signs, because Texas deserves better. And we believe, Blue Action, actually, we know that democracy thrives when the truth wins and when voting rights are defended and when the public servants actually serve the public. Now, I've never backed down from a good and necessary fight. And, it's almost comical for me to even have to say that we know that. I know Blue Action Dems understands we have a good and necessary fight on our hands. We know what's on the line right now, Danielle. And what's on the line right now is the very future of our country and our state. And the question of who is Texas for? I'm running for Texas Attorney General because I'm a proud Democrat, and I'm going to let the people, the 32 million, know that the Democrats know how to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was impeccable timing. Thank you. And we already have questions coming in. So I'm going to go in the order they've been asked. Have you examined the current OAG budget? Does that budget contain enough flexibility to reactivate the Consumer Protection Division? If so, what would your consumer protection priorities be? And I'm happy to put this in the chat if you need it repeated.
No, absolutely. There is over $1 billion. Coincidentally, the same amount of money Galveston got from Housing and Urban Development when I was mayor, but there's $1 billion plus every biennium given to the Office of Attorney General. And consumer protection is, of course, what we should do. Danielle, you may have seen in the news recently that Norton Rose Fulbright is going to get a contingency fee of $168 million that should be staying within the state budget. But because Ken Paxton's notorious conduct chased off Darren McClarty and Jeff Mateer, who were very competent trial counsel who could have landed that Google settlement themselves. But because they left, they weren't whistleblower claimants in the lawsuit that we all know so well. That's going to cost $6 million to the taxpayer. But because these guys left, Paxton farmed out the litigation to one of his law firms that he likes. God knows what he got in return, Daniel. To answer your question, we're going to hire competent lawyers who will re-nourish the Office of Attorney General, people who are proud, people who are young, people of all national origin, people of all race, men and women, and they will lead. And as Attorney General, I will take that budget that the state legislature gives us. I will give these lawyers the resources they need to succeed, and I'll let them lead.
Thank you. The next question, do you know what government entity primarily funds the Child Support Enforcement Division? And will you be able to effectively prosecute these cases if resources are slashed?
Well, the Attorney General's office is responsible for collecting and dispersing child support. I told you that there's approximately 4,200 employees within the OAG. Most of them are assigned to the Child Support Division. So a lot of the operating expense of the child support division comes from a fee obtained off the collection of child support. And that actually is one of the great complaints I have about Ken Paxton's office. You know, he wakes up in Austin or Collin County or wherever he is, and he thinks, what will I spend today's mental break doing? Persecuting parents of a trans child. There you go. Instead, he ought to be putting some money toward new software at the child support division. He ought to be going around to the various satellite offices in the state and visiting claimants and making an appearance, if you will. This is what I did when I was mayor of Galveston, and people loved it. So imagine an attorney general, Danielle, that will actually understand that child support, as you know, day in and day out as it may be. It's not as exciting as suing people and, making public proclamations about men and girls' bathrooms. I mean, it's just so sad how government has fallen. But what I think people will respect when Democrats take control again, Danielle, is that the child support will be collected on time and all of it will be delivered on time. And that is a pledge.
What is your day one priority as AG if elected, and how will you implement it?
So I get asked this a lot, and I have a day one, a week one, and a first 100 days. But on day one, there's going to be three signature litigation acts that I take. Number one, wherever the case is pending, and it will probably be in the appeals court because these things take about 2 years to resolve, I will reverse the state of Texas's position vis-a-vis the illegal racist 2025 Trump redistricting maps. And I will reverse the state position to align with the Texas House Democrats. That's number one. Number two, I will reverse the state's position in a case that is amazingly called United States of America versus Students. This is the Dreamer Act litigation that Ken Paxton colluded with Pam Bondi to eviscerate the Texas Dream Act, which, as you know, Danielle, guarantees in-state tuition for Dreamers. They did this in the dark of night. Uh, People were celebrating their graduation from high school and their tuition letters at University of Texas and A&M and state schools throughout the state. And then by like middle summer, they were like, "Hey, something happened. We can't honor that anymore. Now it's 40,000 a year for you to go to school here." Um, People dropped out. How horrifying that is. I'll reverse the state's position and land that case, reinstating the Dream Act. And then finally, I'll file initial litigation to stop vouchers
Thank you.
under the
Uh,
Texas Constitution.
So speaking of education, our next question is very education specific. I'll try and break it down.
Sure.
Given the pressure by right-wing politicians, led by Governor Abbott, to completely control what is taught in Texas universities, are you concerned that this will have a negative impact on, one, the competitiveness of our higher ed schools in attracting top educators and students, and two, our reputation in the business community? What would you do as Attorney General to address these issues?
It does alarm me, and it alarms you, and it alarms the business community, I assure you. Texas does so well, not because Greg Abbott is God or Dan Patrick is God or any of those people. It is because business has come here over the decades because they know it is a well-educated population. There's vast resources. I mean, Texas really is a great place, and the Republicans are destroying it, and not slowly. And so, when I am your Attorney General, God willing, with your blessing, I will protect every corner of human thought as it relates to education from high school, first day in school when you're 3 or 2, all the way through the universities. So right now, Texas A&M, University of Texas, all the schools are having their professors told, you can't teach Plato, you can't teach this. diversity, equity, and inclusion have become bad words, but they're beautiful words and they're beautiful values. I was just walking past a store, Talbot's, and it had a sign that said, "We honor diversity in our workplace." And I wonder how many of the businesses in Texas are just keeping quiet because it's just so ugly. They don't want to speak up. We need to elect a Democrat to the office of Attorney General who will be the speaker to what is good. As I have said, government is something that matters. Bobby Kennedy said the night Martin Luther King was shot, Danielle, that we need to rededicate ourselves to the proposition that government is to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Education does that. It is the renaissance of how people become better people. And whether it's public school or universities, the MAGA Republican Party has declared war. Well, I won't sue, harass, intimidate, or trouble teachers for teaching.
Thank you. We have more coming through. So the next question, what are the specific steps you would take at the AG's office to restore trust in the office?
Well, I'm going to do it this way. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion are three beautiful words in the English dictionary, and I'm going to make it my point to exercise my hiring power, and I'm going to hire young, talented professionals. We will have many spots open, I suspect, after 30 years in the wilderness. And these are going to be young men and women of color, young men and women who are white, people who are of all religions, all ethnicities. I will give them the tools to succeed and I will let them lead. And Danielle, when people are in power and think about how you just reacted to that phrase, oh my God, empower, I mean, you get your back up, but power can be exercised in a way that benefits everybody. And government, it's been so long since that. So what I would say is it all matters who you put forward as your leadership. And Texas is going to see its own face, its own reflection in the mirror.
And we probably only have time for two of the many questions we've been getting in. So I'm going to try and choose a few that have not asked questions before.
Sure.
So the next one is, what is your plan for reaching the small rural voters that have not voted for Democrats in years or decades?
I've been doing it already. And Clayton Tucker and I have become like, brothers. And we go out into the small counties. Jaworski campaign, my campaign, is the most hustle campaign right now out there. And I've been doing it since July. I also believe I'm going to make a record as to how many places we're going. I mean, we were in Ingram, Texas, right along the Guadalupe River, which sadly was where so many people lost their life July 4th weekend. But Kerr County, and there was over 100 people there. Gun Barrel City, Texas, right before Christmas, 80 people there. Castroville, back in October, double the largest crowd they've ever had. So, Danielle, you're correct to say that that is part of the solution. And remember, when we have our nominees, whether it's, the day after March 3rd or the day after the runoffs, we need to put aside the vanity projects and run as a ticket. And I would like to see us in the big cities, of course, but going into rural Texas and say, I know you've had enough. We're here to help.
I'm going to make this one the last question. It is lengthy, but it's a great
Sure.
question.
Sure.
Um, So speaking of the staff in the AG's office, what about the competent lawyers who are in the AG's office? How will you change the culture within the office? And for example, AAGs are not allowed to speak at state bar CLE or get CLE paid for. Would you change that? Or how would you incentivize to provide for good long-term employees and draw good attorneys and staff to the office?
Well, this is where experience matters. First off, I would change that. Ken Paxton has been cited for disciplinary violations by the Texas bar repeatedly. They think the American Bar Association, which the Jaworski family have been members of since my grandfather was president, I mean, this is an assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion and thought. And so, what I would say to you is, we're going to reestablish societal norms of decency in the Attorney General's office, and no one is going to be muzzled. They're either going to do the job and do it well, or they won't. And if they aren't, they get let go. But what I will tell you is the Attorney General's office is the largest executive agency by staff by a long shot. And we're going to show people that government is good, not bad. And we're going to know where the red line is. We're going to let cities be cities, counties be counties, school districts be school districts. And what we're going to do is focus on affordability. And I know that sounds like a political buzzword, but when I'm your Attorney General, with your blessing, Blue Action, there's going to be a new division, and it's going to be called the Division of Affordability. And essentially, it's going to be a way to use the law so young Texans can afford the American dream again. My kid is 26, my daughter's 21. They talk about it kind of with a derisive laugh. That's dangerous. God bless our young people, and we're going to get them registered when they graduate from high school, because that's the law. And then we're going to give them hope, and the law will be a tool of good, not persecution.
Thank you so much for joining us and for answering so many of our questions. We really appreciate it. And you are very welcome to stay on the call, hear from our other candidate. But we really appreciate your time. I can't thank you enough.
Danielle, you're wonderful. And thank you all so much for listening. We're actually going to go across the street and do something called candidating. I love it. And it's going to be an hour long, and I'm going to sit in a chair, and then people are going to, in groups of 2 or 3,
Great.
come and hit me. So I'll see you guys next time. Okay.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you guys. Bye.
And I know Nathan Johnson has also joined us. I just need to see, I just need to find you. So give me just a second. Are you here under Nathan or the Nathan Johnson campaign? I'm going to unmute both of those because I don't know. And please speak up and let me know.
It looks like I'm here under Nathan.
Oh, okay, great. I found you. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone, and you are able to talk. And thank you so much for joining us.
Delighted to talk with you from my car. Sorry, I've been going event to event, but I
We
love
can
that we
only
have technology
imagine.
that allows this to happen.
No problem. What we're going to do is we've been giving each candidate 5 minutes. I do have a brief introduction, so just to set the stage, and then, as always, fill in any blanks and expand on what you like. But this just kind of gives everyone a little introduction to you. So Nathan Johnson is here joining us, our final Democratic candidate for Texas Attorney General. You are a current Texas State Senator and a practicing attorney that represents parts of Dallas County in the legislature. So during your time in Senate, you've worked on issues including healthcare access, infrastructure, and consumer protections. And we want to invite you to, I'll set my timer to take the 5 minutes that we have before we go into Q&A to tell us more about yourself and why you're running.
Very good. Thank you. Delighted to be here. As you mentioned, I am a state senator. I was elected in 2018. It was a great year to run, and I picked a great opponent to run against, Don Huffines, and I beat him. It was a -12 Democratic seat that I won by 8 points. So I have flipped a right-wing Republican seat, and that had been Republican for 32 years, I believe. Since 2019 in the legislature, I have been battling Greg Abbott's border policies. I've been battling Bob Hall's crusade against vaccines. I've been battling Ms. Middleton's Christo-fascism. I've been at the forefront of every major democratic value, from voting rights to battling gerrymandering to opposing vouchers, abortion rights, equality, equity. And going after, as I said, the governor, lieutenant governor, whoever is really causing us problems. But importantly, while I've been at the forefront of this Democratic opposition, and we have a lot to oppose, I've also passed 135 bills. I've also gotten health care for 350,000 people. I've helped babies not go deaf. I've provided for backup power for water towers and warming centers. I want people to understand that Democrats can get things done. Heck, I got a Republican tax bill in a headlock, and I managed to get 9 amendments on that thing, including ever the first ever tax preference in history for federally designated minority opportunity districts. So I can get a lot done in the Senate. It is frustrating as a Democrat in the minority. I'm frustrated that my housing bill, most ambitious and best housing bill in the country, some people said, didn't get a hearing. Right. So it's frustrating, but I can get work done. And if I don't win this election, and I intend to win this election, I will be grateful to go back and work in the Senate. But right now, there is an attorney general's office with very weak Republican opposition and an opportunity for Democrats to flip a seat that is colossally important on a national and on a state level. It is $1 billion budget, 4,000 employees, 800 lawyers. It affects national policy, state policy. And as we've seen with Ken Paxton, it's extremely influential on the policy front. It's been extremely influential in a bad way. And I represent to you that this office can be as powerfully good under the right leadership as it has been powerfully bad under Ken Paxton. And really sitting through that impeachment trial and just seeing up close day after day being presented with the evidence of this rank abuse of office and disrespect for people and persecution of people and neglect of the good really burned into me the importance of delivering this office in a statewide flip. So I am going after this, and I do have the same gut instinct that I had in 2018 when Democrats fared so well, when we took 12 House seats, when we took 2 state Senate seats, when Beto O'Rourke got within 3 of the much reviled Ted Cruz. But therein lies the other real message here. We need candidates who are going to make sure that Democrats don't lose by 3 points in this election cycle. I mean, there's a lot to hate right now. We need candidates that together compose a vision of the state and the future at a time when the whole country is undergoing turmoil, when the whole notion of might is right is coming back from the Middle Ages. We are not going to win unless we have great candidates across the ticket, and we can. And I can bring votes to this race that no one else can. And Gina Hinojosa and whoever wins the Senate race, each of us can bring votes that no one else brings. And when we have a composite effort, when people can see more than one candidate that they like, that they can identify with, whether they are on the left or moderate right or somewhere in between, we will win and people will turn out because hope is the missing ingredient. We've had anger before. We have anger now, but when we have good candidates running good campaigns, we add the element of hope. And I think that's what gets us to 51% in this cycle. I appreciate the fantastic work that you all are doing. It's essential. I know you want to get us past 50%. I think we do it this cycle. I want to be part of it. And then the last thing I'll say is that it's pretty obvious that the walls are coming down, that the old structures that have held this country together, constitutional foundations, democratic institutions, rule of law, they really don't give a shit anymore in Washington. And the Republicans in Texas are just following orders. And it's sad. A lot of the good ones have left. Those who remain, they just do what they're told. That's not good enough. If we are going to preserve the future, and this is really more or less existential at this point, and this is not melodrama, you all know this. If we don't stop the crumbling of the towers right now, it's going to fall on top of us. And the Attorney General stands at the intersection of all this stuff, the relationships between businesses and government, between state governments and the federal government and local government, state and local people and corporations. All that stuff is the business of the Attorney General's office. And his prices are high because corporate consolidation is on a scale we haven't seen in 150 years. As the consolidation of power leads to corruption out in the daylight, we need an attorney general who understands government, who's been in government for 8 years, who knows how to work against Republicans, who knows how to work with Republicans, somebody who can win an election against whatever right-wing nut the Republican primary produces. I've done those 2 things. I'm not talking about it. I'm doing it. And I'd like to do it from the Attorney General's office and help us deliver this state from the clutches of right-wing fanaticism.
Thank you so much. That was, again, perfect timing for the 5
That was
minutes.
lucky.
No, you timed it perfectly. Thank you. We have questions coming in already, and I want to make sure that we have time to get to as many as possible since we did run out of time with the last candidate. So I will read them out. This one is a longer one, so if you need me to repeat any of these, please just let me know. And again, to any of our participants that have questions, please send them directly to me in the chat. So the question is, given the pressure by right-wing politicians led by Governor Abbott to completely control what's taught in Texas universities, are you concerned that this will have a negative impact on, one, the competitiveness of our higher education schools in attracting top educators and students, and two, our reputation in the business community? What would you do? Sorry. What would
Keep
you
going.
do as Attorney General to address these issues? For context, this is coming from a Blue Action member who is also a member of the American Association of University Professors.
Okay, I'll try to be quick because I know we have a lot. The first two questions, yes and yes. I'm concerned that it'll cause damage. I'm concerned that it'll hurt business. One of the things I would do to combat it is talk to you further. After 8 years in the Senate, I realize none of us knows everything. The only way you really, really do good work is surround yourself with people with expertise, whether they're advocates or scientific experts or pitting people against each other. Really dig into the conversation. The way to make progress is to dig into the work. I am aghast at what is happening in higher education, the control that's going on. And one of the things you could already see from it's not just Abbott, it's the Trump administration who said that if we're going to dangle money in front of you, and as long as you say the kind of stuff we want you to say and teach the courses we want you to teach and fire the people we want you to fire, you get extra bonuses. That's illegal. I would have already issued an attorney general opinion citing how many different constitutional provisions that violates, as well as statutory procedures laws. You have to have an aggressive attorney general to shut this crap down. And you're going to have to work with university systems to figure out where you can win. Remember, we got to win. We can't just fight. We have to win the fights. So figure out where you can win, how you can win, and where you can't win, let's figure out a longer term play to get back in position and recover the lost ground. I think that's where, again, experience in politics matters. It is a profession. And I would dedicate my own mind and the minds of people smarter than me, who I'm going to surround myself with, to addressing this very serious problem.
Thank you. The next question. For 4 years, the AG's office has been involved with others in a lawsuit regarding the constitutional right to public access to Texas beaches down in Cameron County. What is your position on a municipality having the authority to close Texas beaches to the public?
If I'm recalling correctly, and forgive me, I will not be able to answer every question that everyone thinks of just because I can't hold that many things in my head. I do have some memory of this being an issue in the legislature, and I have a memory of me being opposed to. I mean, this walks a line, right? Because I support local control. But what if a trillionaire creates his own city and wants to shut down a segment of beach that has been open to the public for 200 years? Which I think is what happened. I am deeply opposed to that. I'm not selling public access to a beach to the highest bidder, particularly not when we have these market anomalies that are creating overlords of wealth. So my position is I generally try to respect local control, but where private powers have seized the levers of government, no, you're not going to deprive the public of what has long been a public right. I hope that's as close as I can come to answering your question. As these issues come up, we'll dig into them deeper.
Thank you. What is your day one priority as AG if elected, and how will you implement it?
Rebuild the place. Rebuild the place. A few days after, assuming I win the general election, and I really am aiming to, a few days later, I am going to provide notice to all 4,000 employees, inviting them to reapply if they're interested. And they can let me know, and we'll have a vetting process of whether they're interested in working at the Attorney General's office for ideological reasons, particularly if they support Ken Paxton, or whether they want to provide a public service and very much believe in the mission of the Attorney General's office. And I will tell you, I've talked to people who worked all the way back with Jim Maddox to Greg Abbott to Ken Paxton, and there's good people in there. Some of them are non-political, some of them are conservatives, some of them are liberals, but mostly they want to do their job. A lot of people in the Capitol this way. If they're going to do their jobs well, please reapply. I value your institutional expertise, and we got to hit the ground running. I can't get a bunch of brand new people in there and expect to be successful. On the other hand, if you're an ideologue, you should apply for ICE to work at ICE because I think they're hiring. You ain't working for me. When we rebuild the office, we will see a lot of problems go away. One of the things that Paxton has been criticized for is this overuse of outside counsel. All attorneys general in the country use outside counsel at certain places where it's necessary and helpful. The only reason there's two reasons Paxton uses it all the time, because he can't recruit good attorneys and because he's dealing out big cash payments to his buddies who are getting quick settlements and not modifying market behavior. When I have good attorneys at the attorney general's office and good staff and policy people at that office, we're going to do most of it in-house, and taxpayers aren't going to get stuck with $4,000 attorney's fees, $4,000 an hour attorney's fees.
Great. Thank you. What could you highlight that you want to accomplish that's in the middle of the political Venn diagram that could show voters of all persuasions that you are working for them?
That's a great question. You could look at my record in office where I've passed a lot of bills, which by definition were somewhere in the middle because I got Republicans to vote for them. If we want to look forward to, and a lot of that has to do with infrastructure, education, health, areas where I've been able to get everybody to agree. That's my past record. If you're looking at the Attorney General's office, I would look at something that the Paxton office, I don't know if it's Ken, but the Paxton office has done some good work on, and that is on antitrust and consumer protection. Not nearly enough, and it has been selective, and it has had favoritism. All that's going out the window. I'm going to beef up antitrust enforcement, beef up consumer protection. Paxton's office has gone after Google. It has gone after major hotel corporations for junk fees. I think both of those are examples of things that I would like to expand and build upon. And whether you're Republican or Democrat, left or right, if you look through the lens of history, the current level of corporate corruption and business control of government is devastating. And I am going to try to steer as many minds into that zone as we can so that we can get support to once again having a competitive economy that is responsive to consumer needs and to workers, and to having a vision that we all actually prosper in the city instead of a massive wealth extraction machine, which is what we're turning into.
Great. Thank you so much. I have another question that is, you may have addressed in some aspects, but what are the specific steps you would take at the AG's office to restore trust in the office?
Yeah, I think the first answer about it's not a purge. It's just opening the door and showing it to anybody who wants to be part of the old corrupt machine. It's just not how we're going to do business. We're going to hire really good people, and some of them are going to be young, and of course they're going to be diverse. Diversity is essential if you're going to run a good office. They're also going to be old. I'm also going to call upon people, maybe people who left Ken Paxton's office. I've had attorneys contact me and say, I worked for Jim Maddox all the way to Greg Abbott to Ken Paxton. I quit. I'm for you now. I want those people who operated at a high level, who have experience, who know how this office works, to come back and help us reestablish. If you look at early stuff, even with Greg Abbott, who's just lost his political mind, right? Early positions that he took had some integrity, right? And the people who worked there had integrity. So I think it's really mostly about the culture that you establish and the people that you hire. You want to stop corruption, stop being corrupt. You want to stop using the office as a right-wing propaganda machine, stop using it as a right-wing propaganda machine. You want to stop the persecution, stop freaking persecuting people. I mean, it's kind of that simple. Don't be a jerk. We're going to have great people working there. And when the public sees us pursuing the right kinds of things, when the headlines are the things that actually help people, we will see trust in that office. I think trust comes from competence and sincerity. And those are two things that have been lacking. And those are two things I'm going to bring back.
We only have time for one more question. So I will ask here, if you win, but so does Greg Abbott, what are you expecting as far as his impact and influence on your efforts to change the AG's office? How will you push back?
I expect Greg Abbott's behavior to improve dramatically because he's not going to have a yes man in the office. When Democrats, broadly speaking, won 12 seats in the House and 2 in the Senate and almost beat Ted Cruz, the following legislative session was generally described by insiders as one of the best legislative sessions in Texas history. It's where we actually made progress on school finance and things. A couple things are operating. First of all, Greg does not have somebody who facilitates his bad habits. Secondly, the Republicans are going to be scared because they just got their asses kicked by a Democrat. So they're going to be a lot more careful in the kinds of things they go after. And then third, there's a misconception out there that the attorney general works that as the attorney for the state, the attorney general has to defend the governor or has to defend the legislature. No, I defend the rule of law and I represent the interests of the state, which means of Texans. I'm not Greg's lawyer. I'm not the legislature's lawyer. And I am the constitutionally appointed lawyer for the state. So my position, the brief that I file, is the position of the state. So Greg Abbott is going to have, their stopped clocks are right twice a day. I think pretty quickly he's going to come around to wanting to work together on certain things, and I will be there to work with him on certain things. I think there's going to be times when we'll be cooperative, and if he wants to test the limits, test them. Let's go. It's going to be a very interesting relationship, and I welcome a big improvement from his office if I win and he wins, but I hope he doesn't.
Great. Thank you so much. That was our last question. So again, we just want to thank you for your time and all the candidates. This was really, I think, helpful for all of us to get to hear directly from y'all and speak with you. And so thank you again so much.